saying that he's live?
I don't ever pay attention to that.
Our live.
Okay, so
I put it in the chat.
Ooh, in the chat. How about that?
0 and 09 is broadcasting live. Hey, I see us. I see all three of us.
You see all three?
Me.
Wow. It's humid here. I'm not liking that.
Yeah, it is here as well.
Haha, losers. Having to deal with heat.
Yeah.
Oh, we got up to a nice 80 degrees today. It was.
What is? Where's my
We
chat?
might get that warm tomorrow. It could happen.
But yeah, if the humidity could just, fuck right off, that'd be fantastic.
It's 73 today.
Sure can do that.
It's
Like, I don't think it's physically capable.
it's going to get down to 67
Well,
degrees here
if the
tonight.
humidity keeps going up, I could mold a penis out of it because it's going to be so thick and dense. It's like snow, but in the air, and it just. I don't
I
know.
mean, it's worth a try.
I got nothing better to do. It's not like I'm doing my job.
No?
But
There's that.
all right. So. I don't have good segues. I've been off for a week.
You don't have your soundboard either, do you?
Nope, because that is like permanently broken until we get a new production machine here.
Gotcha.
So once that happens, then yeah, fantastic. We have a soundboard. Or if I can get a mixer might fix it. But I'm out of room on my desk as far as where to put things.
He had to get that fake microphone.
The microphone's
took
not all
up
that big.
space.
It's right. Nah. It's not big at all. It's more knickknacks and just random garbage on my desk.
It's important.
It is. I need my knickknacks. I need to feel.
I like that mic.
The Blue Yeti? Yeah.
My desk does not have knickknacks on it because there's not room for knickknacks.
I got
I
a little
don't
tiny Rick.
I don't have a desk right now.
I've got a hula hoop Harley. You jiggle it around. And I have the Black Lion from Voltron. And a little Kylo Ren.
Well, see, we can't see your camera, so we can't see.
I know. You got to wait for it.
I know. I was
It's part of the
waiting, and
anticipation.
finally, little Rick showed up. I
And
love
then
that.
a little Lego Batwing. And a little Lego Joker. I'm just constantly pulling stuff. And my latest pride of joy, the little Destiny Ghost.
Oh, she's a Destiny fan, huh?
Who?
The little lady.
No, I said a little Destiny Ghost.
Oh, I thought you said it was the little lady's pride and joy.
No, I said it was my pride and joy. My latest pride and joy. So
Latest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why did Bob's
Why did
video
that happen?
freeze up? And yeah, there. Okay. So what was that K you're holding up?
It was the letter K.
Oh, I wasn't sure if it was like a Cricket Wireless badge you had or
Oh! Now, and I have the
letter B.
Yeah, I have the letter B. I got all
Today's
the letters over there.
episode is brought to you by the
Letter
letter B.
For boring.
The letter 7. 7's not a letter.
It's not a good name either. But let's not be boring anymore. Let's talk about your daughters.
Yeah, you do have to work on those segues.
I thought that one went flawlessly. It's the entire reason you guys are here because you produce female offspring.
Well, this is true.
Yeah, I mean, Woody's much more
I'm
adept at that than I am.
Yeah, see, I got it right the first time.
Yeah, I'm 150% more proficient at it than Mesi is.
Well, some of that's debatable there, Zero, but we'll leave that for another day.
Well, them's fighting words. But no, so you guys are going to go through challenges that I will never experience because I don't have to worry about intimidating possible suitors for my son. Whereas you, being fathers of the fairer sex, have to worry about this.
Yeah.
Now, I know that the typical gung-ho plan's like, oh, yeah, I've got a collection of shotguns, and I've been working on, I'm all big and muscly. Do you guys have plans in place?
Well, I would like to be big and muscly again, but I'm not exactly. So, no, I've told my daughters from the time that they were, from the time that they were 2 or 3, well, the oldest one was 2 or 3, I said, what you've got to do, I said, when it comes time for you to get old enough and you're 25, 26 years old and you start having boyfriends, said, he's going to have to fight me. He doesn't have to beat me, but he's got to fight me. He's got to put on the gloves, step in whatever semblance we have of a cage or a ring, and he's going to have to fight me. So that's that's been my thing.
So what's going to beat you first, the young punk or your osteoporosis?
I don't know. At this rate, it's going to be the fact I won't be able to stand up. So, but no,
sounds like the osteoporosis.
Yeah, it does sound like that. But since I've lost about 25 pounds, like I was saying, about 25 pounds, my knee has not been hurting. So
maybe that's what I need to do. Because I've been having the knee pain as well. Typically when I'm like, because I have to crouch down, get in crawl spaces, futz around behind an entertainment center, so I'm on my knees a lot. And I get like that pressure around the joint itself. Mm-hmm. And so it hurts when I have to stand up or when I get down, or even like if I'm just sitting too long, my knees start to ache. Is that kind of what you're getting into?
Well, when I was in the Army, I actually had knee surgery. I tore my meniscus while I was in Afghanistan, and I went for about a year and a half without getting that fixed. Finally got it fixed, and it's never been the same since I've had the surgery. I used to even walk with a cane for a while.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, since I lost a bunch of weight, my knee hasn't been hurting at all. So it's been great. So.
Okay, so you actually have injury. You're not just a fat piece of garbage like me.
Yeah. I have a legitimate reason.
Hey, being fat's legitimate.
Yeah.
Come on.
There was a truck in front of me that got blown up and caught on fire, and so I jumped out of my truck, and of course I had my vest on and my weapon and all my ammunition and everything. And when I landed wrong, twisted my knee, and tore the meniscus. So that.
You should have had better training.
Yeah.
They should have taught you better how to jump out of trucks. Sounds like.
Today we're spending 8 hours on how to jump out of a truck.
Hey, don't give them any ideas. They might do stuff like
because
that.
One private could not jump out of a truck properly.
He messed up his knee, and now all your tax dollars go to him.
Now we're paying for it.
Like, not just some of them, all of it.
Mm-hmm. That tax return you thought you were getting? Nope, rerouted just to his knee. His knee's net worth is now greater than his. So, now that you've derailed me even further, we have to get right back. Dan, do you have any plans on dealing with potential suitors?
Nothing in place at this point. Oh, my phone fell down. I mean, no, nothing permanently in place. I've had a lot of thoughts cross my mind on the matter. Definitely thinking back to how it went for me.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it scary.
Well, and the obstacles that I had to overcome, and then listening to some other people. There's one guy I'm familiar with that his father-in-law said you have to have X amount of dollars in the bank, you have to be able to bench press X amount of weight, and be out of debt. Like, if you want to think about dating my daughter, like, you need to be physically fit, financially responsible, and then come back and talk to me. So, I mean, there's some merits to that. I don't know if putting a dollar amount on it is necessarily the way I would go. But I do suspect that no matter who it is and when they ask, the first answer is an automatic no.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, okay, no, you can't get engaged, and you can try again in a few months.
I always forget that you guys come from a different like worldview as far as what happens with dating, where it's like,
well,
I never asked permission to date a girl. I just said, oh yeah, no, you want to date? Great. There's no third party involvement.
I was raised,
yeah.
and Mesi will understand this perfectly. I was raised under S.M. Davis's teaching.
Oh,
I had to break out of that completely.
I'm talking about a different world. I mean, that's a different universe, even compared to me.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm not familiar with this, and I imagine most people listening aren't. Elaborate on S.M. Davis a
Okay,
bit.
so I'm gonna keep this as positive as I possibly can.
Why?
Just state it accurately.
Okay, I will state it. I will state it factually and accurately. His belief and the belief of those who follow him is that as soon as a person begins dating another person, they don't call it dating, but for the sake of consistency, we're going to call it dating.
Okay.
As soon as a person begins dating another person,
What is it called though? Now you've got me curious. Courtship.
okay, he actually calls it betrothal. He goes with the old betrothal.
He goes real deep, real hard, real fast.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Basically, okay. So.
Yeah, you don't date. You are betrothed.
Yeah. The way it works for him, is your very first date. You are already guaranteed to marry this person.
What if they snore in their sleep?
No, it does not. It does.
Or they process dairy in a foul manner.
his
Like,
whole,
I didn't sign up for this. I had no idea.
his whole thing is before you decide to get with a girl at all, you have to be sure that's the one you want to marry. Then you go to your parents and tell your parents, hey, this is the girl I want to marry. They put their stamp of approval on that girl. Then your parents then go to her parents and say, hey, our son would like to marry your daughter. And if they put their stamp of approval on it, then they then go to the girl and say, this guy wants to marry you. And if she says yes, boom, everybody's happy. They are betrothed for a few months and they get married.
Now, to me, this sounds like an arranged marriage. Would that be accurate?
It's pretty close.
It's pretty close.
Not, but it's really close.
It's initiated by the man.
Okay, so it's not the parents start anything. It's
right.
Like, we want to date, but to do so, we need to enter into like this sort of contract where we need these signatories before it can proceed.
Yeah, kind of.
And some of them went as far as, they pretty much wouldn't talk to you. A girl wouldn't talk to a guy, or a guy wouldn't talk. Casual conversation
it
with
became,
the opposite gender if you weren't interested in marrying them.
Yeah, it became pretty weird for a while because of that.
It's still pretty weird.
So how does that affect, like, say, a working relationship? Not even say, like, we both work at McDonald's, but say you guys are doing, like, a bake sale or some other type of event.
I have a perfect example. Whenever I got with my wife, I was actually working for Brother Davis, S.M. Davis. I was actually working for him. And he told me specifically to avoid her because he did not want a relationship to form on accident.
Let's face it, Bob. She's smoking hot, man. You get in the same room, you're just it's done.
That's
you stay in the same room for too long, somebody's going to be pregnant. I mean, it's just that's how it works.
Well, 19 daughters later, he was clearly onto something.
It's true. Potent.
But yeah, so he literally told me, stay away from her. He said because he didn't want any relationship forming at all. And now at the time I was dating another chick from Heartland, the school there in Oklahoma.
Okay.
The one near OBC where Mesi and his wife went. And
We're not going to go down that rabbit trail.
So what happens, because, I mean, being adults and having experience in relationships now, unlike when you first started dating, what happens when a relationship like starts to fall apart where you guys inevitably most first relationships you hit that point are like, you know, this isn't going to work out? How does that happen under that rule set?
It's not supposed to. Their idea, now you got to remember, this is all within a religious context. So their idea is that if the man is sure that that's who he wants to marry, and he believes God wants him to marry that person, and his parents are sure, and her parents are sure, and then she's sure.
No, again, context here is like you're 16, 17 making this lifelong decision.
A little older, you know, nah, well, I do say that. I do know a couple that was married there, and she was 15 years old. They were divorced 2 years later. She wasn't even 18 years old and was already divorced. But
wow, amazing.
Yeah, but
a feather in that cap right there.
Typically though, yeah, the idea is you're a little bit older, you have a little bit more
How
life
much
experience.
alimony was taken out of that McDonald's paycheck?
Oh my!
Probably a good $25. I don't know. But
and a Big Mac a week.
I can't afford to pay you actual money, but I'll give you my employee discount.
Like, we still got some of the supersized containers in the back. I'll give you those fries.
But yeah, the idea is the man has a job. He is supposed to be responsible, you know, and not still young. He's supposed to have his life together at this point. That's the idea, anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, so.
But again, we're talking real world though, where ideals and beliefs are nice, but it doesn't always pan out.
It doesn't. You're right. Again, going back to that guy who married, I think he was 18 or 19, she was 15. They had to get parent permission, state permission, whatever, all the things you had to do. Now this was in Illinois, actually, you know.
You're right, because legal age is 17 in Illinois. Yeah,
and she ended up getting permission and whatever from her parents and signed and everything. And 2 weeks after she turned 15, she got married.
So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So within that framework, they still. Now here's the ironic thing: they still got a divorce under that framework, but because of her age, they really had to work under that same framework as forced by the state because her parents had to approve.
They had to approve of the divorce in addition to the marriage?
No. Just the marriage.
Okay.
Once she was married, she was considered what do they call it? Emancipated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that would, I imagine, hold true for the state itself, but from the religious perspective, is she still seen as an adult, or does she revert back to under the care of her parents?
To be honest, I'm not 100% sure, but knowing what I do know, I would assume that once she would have gotten the divorce and she was so young, she still would have gone back to the authority of her father, religiously speaking. Okay.
Because I imagine at 15, when she was married, she then moved in with her husband.
Yeah.
And did all the, husband-wife stuff.
Yeah.
And the cats are batting at my backdrop because they're douche canoes. Okay, so... Okay.
Yeah. Obviously, he still isn't that way, and I never was.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Completely. That's crazy.
But yeah, I had to break out of that. Now, when I was younger, it wasn't quite as stringent. My parents didn't believe exactly like that. They came out of that church and they were like, yeah, we don't believe exactly like that. But the way I had to do it was I had to get permission from my dad to ask a girl out. And if he said yes, then me being me, I would go to her father and say, may I ask your daughter out? And I am proud to say I was never once told no.
So, okay, now fast forward to now, do you guys still agree with that? Do you believe that's the proper way of going about it, or do you believe folks should be more independent at that age and be able to make their own decisions?
I think if she is under my house, then she's under my authority, and the guy needs to come and talk to me. If she is at that age where she has moved out, she's got her own career, I would still like to be involved with it, but he doesn't have to come to me for permission. But if he does, I will look so much more favorably upon him.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have to say I'm kind of close to that, whereas I don't typically force myself into anything that I'm not invited to. Now, this is my daughter, so it's a little bit different of a scenario.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, if it's just a toxic person that, like, you can look at it and say, this is a bad idea, you can't marry a drug dealer.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be a little bit different. I don't see that. And honestly, I mean, my daughter's 6 years old. This thought process is already starting now. Of I want her to trust me and respect me and my wife, to know that we have her best interest in mind. And when this time comes, 16, 20 years, whatever it is, however long it is down the road, that she cares to seek our opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And that the guy would have the same respect to, hey, I'm interested in your daughter, and I'll let her talk, I'll let her go out. Court, I'm gonna go with, or somebody's gonna go with, for a while anyway. But then when it comes, but I mean, to me, dating and betrothal is out the door. I mean, that's not not even close.
Yeah.
But it's like with my wife's dad, he told his girls, hey, date around, you talk around to guys, don't, because so many people, especially the ones that grew up, the only way I can say it is this religious, you get that little taste of freedom, and they would grab on to the first human connection that they would make, and would ride it until their first divorce.
Yeah, and I can agree with his statement there. Yeah, go out, get your feet wet, see what it's like. Because I've been in that situation where I've been in a couple of really ugly relationships with just toxic, awful people. And when you believe you're in love and, the emotions are going and you have the endorphins, you don't see it. And that's when you have to rely on that family and friends aspect to say, hey, this person's not good for you. They're not doing right by you, and it's going to end badly. And that's where having that trust and a support system in the family is super, super important. So I can back that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that's what I'm trying to build even now at 6 years old.
Yeah.
That, I only have one daughter to mess with. She likes the idea of she's twins with her mother. And she gets a kick out of competitively calling me babe. And she'll do it. She'll be like, I'll walk in the door, she'll be like, hey babe, and then just look at my wife like, what are you gonna do about it?
You're not the one living in Arkansas?
So she does it to just she has a very dynamic personality. I mean, I understand she's 6, but I mean, you can tell personality. I'm not worried about her being taken advantage of in any way, because she'll mess a dude up. So I'm seeing that, I need to point to this energy in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. But the goal is, by the time she's at that age, she's going to be, one, smart enough to point out a flake on her own, like some guy just saying, oh, I love you, like, What is that? Like, you don't even know what love means, which most 18-year-olds don't know what love means anyway.
Not at all.
And which at 18, I heard that statement, and I'm like, what do you mean? I know about love. And then now, in my cynical 30s, like, look at these 18-year-olds, like, you guys have no idea.
I don't even know that I love my own wife. I've been married to her for 15 years. She makes food, the house is clean, I pay bills, everything works. Is that love? Maybe. Pretty sure.
In some ways, that's not wrong.
Yeah.
But
she's not the best to look at, but we get along.
Well,
I don't wake up and she's stabbing me, so.
And love is what makes that happen, honestly, of even when you're not having the most fun, that you're still there.
Yeah. No, see, you were talking about your daughter's her attitude, I guess, or her outlook, I have
personality.
Yeah, her personality. I've got 3 daughters, not 19, contrary to popular opinion. And so
19, I thought it was 21.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I haven't checked lately.
When's the last time you looked at your wife?
Yeah.
What about the kids in Iraq?
I thought it was Afghanistan.
Both.
I was in both, but
Woody was on tour.
Oh, he was in both. We have it on recording.
As far as I know.
Your wife's gonna open the door, Papa.
But so anyway, I've got 3 daughters, and they're all
beautiful olive skin, bright red hair.
Yes. But yeah. So I've got 3 daughters, and all 3 of them are different.
I hope so.
I would say my youngest is like what you were describing, Mesi. Whereas my second daughter, she's shy, introverted. She's a follower, not a leader. And my first one, my oldest, I'm pretty sure she's retarded. At least that's what I tell her.
Okay, side step here. I'm still struggling with talking badly about my son when he does stupid or aggravating shit, because he doesn't live with me. I only get to see him every other weekend. Yeah. So I'm trying really, really hard to cherish that time and not get upset with him and be really patient. But sometimes I'm just I'm 3, talking to myself in my head. He's 4, and I'm like, he's such a little asshole. And then I yell at myself, you can't say that. He's your kid.
It's part of being 4. You just are that way when you're 4.
If you ask my daughters, they all know this. All 3 of them know this. I have 2 main rules in my house: don't be loud, and don't be an idiot. Those are my 2 main rules in my house.
Is it a do as I say, not do as I?
I try not to be an idiot. Doesn't always work.
Do you tell them that I have to keep your volume at 25% of everyone else's?
No, I don't bring that up.
Seen and not heard.
Yeah. But, well, I mean, I got 3 kids all about the same age, so they will get very loud if I let them.
Oh, yeah, they're kids.
They will get very loud. And, which, I mean, I try to let them be kids, but then I have to balance that out with, my mental issues. And,
peace of mind is just super critical. It doesn't matter regardless of what mental state you're in. It's like if there's a bunch of kids yelling and screaming, eventually you're going to hit that breaking point.
Right. So
I get it when I'm working in somebody's house and it's clear that they don't have a real good rein on their kids and they're just going bananas. And I can't tell them, please hit your kid.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get your TV set up. As soon as it's set up, Nickelodeon's going to be on. But until then, please beat the shit out of your kids.
Yeah.
It's like the babysitter isn't turned on yet.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
I got to wait for this guide to load that's not working.
Babysitter back. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a tangent on another topic, but it's the same.
Yeah.
many times seeing how other people's children are just infuriate me to no end.
Yeah.
And yeah, I deal with other people's children on a regular basis.
See, I don't have to as often, but when I do, I'm so glad I got mine. But you know, having that reign, and this kind of goes back, I mean, it does tie in to what we were already talking about, because if you've got that reign on your kids when they're young, and then they get older into that dating, you know, you've got to be careful. There's got to be balance, because as Mezzi was talking about, when they get that taste of freedom, they have that chance to go hog wild. So if you have that reign on them when they're young and teach them when they're young, you can give them that freedom before they get to that point and taste it on their own.
Yeah.
Because you know.
I look at it like how I was raised. My mom, super religious, very stringent, kind of a similar mindset, not quite to the same reaches as what you guys had. And my dad was the complete opposite side. We're like, hey, if you need condoms, just tell me. And I didn't feel super comfortable going to either of them, because you need that middle ground. You can't have, you know, one extreme of the spectrum or the other. And that's what I'm trying to build with my son is, you know, I don't want to be this awful authoritarian figure to him. I don't want to be his friend either. I just want to be the mentor. I'm here to teach you how to be a functional adult, and I want to have your trust so that you can come to me when these things happen and not feel embarrassed or ashamed. Partially because of I don't get to see him all the time, and I don't know what he's being taught elsewhere. So I'm really struggling, or I shouldn't say struggling, but really trying to build that now. Like, so in the future, when he comes over, he says, hey, Dad, this happened. Because there's also this really paranoid part of my brain, like, what if he's being molested and nobody's, like, knows about it, or he's not telling me? Yeah, it drives me insane.
Well, see, you are going to have challenges that Mezzi and I don't have, because you don't have him all the time. I don't remember what your
control of the other half of people that deal with him.
Yeah, there you go. You know, you only have him. What is it? Every other week or something?
Every other weekend.
And knowing that you have different ideologies than the other couple, that's going to be a very unique fight. And good luck.
Yeah, really. That's. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot more I could say about it that I don't want to drag this down.
No, I get it. At least I have the benefit of having gone through it myself as a kid, so I can kind of counterbalance what I saw and experience and try to ensure he doesn't have that same shitty upbringing.
Yeah, because there was another mutual friend of ours that had a similar issue. His name rhymes with yours.
Yep.
And I kind of think back to don't take this the wrong way, but I think back to the two of you and what it was like for you to not have a father figure in your life. I had a great dad. He did what he needed to do, but that
great
led
dad, even better mustache.
Yes.
But I mean, he was always gone. Running your own business, he was never there. And then I kind of had to take over the dad role, so to speak, when I was 12.
Even because you have two older brothers, though, right?
Yeah. It was because I was the third kid. They were both out working, and my parents decided, to have a second family. So here, I was the convenient babysitter, which turned into me hanging out with, the 2 and 3 year old, or 1 and 2, whatever, as they progressed through until I went to college. From like 12 to 17. See, I got dad practice in then, essentially.
I had a similar yet dissimilar at the same time experience, because when I was younger, my parents both had to work. Now, I'm talking real young. When I was 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, both my parents had to work. And so I was taking care of my 2 and then 3 younger siblings I was making supper for him. I was making lunch. I was doing laundry and going and hanging it out on the line and doing all that and everything. And then it did a complete total flip. Then my dad became a youth pastor, and I couldn't get rid of him.
And that's all you wanted to do at that point.
I was a teenager in his youth group until the time I was 16, when he then became a pastor, and then I was his music minister at the church. So I was still working with him. So yeah, he was there constantly by all the time.
And at that point, you're like, I've got this on lockdown. Get out of my business. You're messing with my stuff.
Yeah. And then I would joke, there'd be times we'd go to like basketball tournaments and stuff like that, and my parents would ruin it when I was trying to talk to girls and things because they'd show up.
They'd show up with the paperwork like, has she signed?
No, I'm not even joking. They did not know that these girls did not know that was my mom. My mom looked very young. When she was
ignore the notary.
When I was 15, 16, my mom still looked like she was 21, 22. All right. And so I was at a basketball tournament.
I gotta look up Mrs. Bob on Facebook.
And these girls went to my mom at this basketball tournament and said, "Hey, do you know that number 22 from Carterville?" And she was like,
"We'd like to file a sexual harassment."
and she was like, "Yeah, I do. Why?" And they were like, "Well, do you know his name? Do you know? We're thinking about talking to him. Blah blah blah." And she's like, "Yeah. He's my son." And they're like, "Oh," and walked off. And I never heard. I heard about this story after the tournament from somebody else on the team.
Mom! Why?
It's when a team of lawyers just appear from behind her in a cloud of smoke. The briefcases clatch open and the paperwork just spills forth.
Yeah.
Now that they're just too embarrassed to overcome that. You see, I made the mistake of having this one girl that consumed all of my time as a high schooler. And I didn't have a very large pool to pick from, granted.
No, you did not.
But I had a very narrow focus, and I had this crush on this girl from grade school, and rode that for far too long, even when I knew it was a bad idea. Yeah.
But see, when I was younger, there was no selection, at all. And then we moved, and then there was a lot more selection.
Okay, so saying selection, were you guys restricted to people within your own private personal community, or was it kind of okay to, like, let's go, I see this cute girl at the grocery store? Or are they off limits because they are not going to follow the same rule set?
No, for me, as long as they were Baptist, because we were Baptist. Mm-hmm. As long as they were Baptist, it was okay. But now, when I say limited selection, there's no good way to put this. All the girls in my school were taller and fatter than I was.
Well, I'm gonna, from my much compared to you, my limited exposure to the Baptist culture, that's gonna sum up the large part of them.
Well, see, when I moved when I moved to Kansas, it was different. They
were grass fed instead of corn fed.
Makes a difference. See, my parents never set parameters for me. So, as far as rules, I don't know.
Was it a thing of you being the third boy that they had already been broken by your brothers, so they didn't care as much?
There could be an aspect to that, because,
because I've always heard that, because I was always the oldest child, and I only had the one sister who was a few years behind me, so I didn't really see much of a difference, but I've always heard that where if you have a pretty large age gap and multiple siblings ahead of you, parents are a lot less stringent or strict with you.
Well, see, that's how it was for my parents. They were a lot more strict on me and a little bit less strict on my sister, a little bit less strict on my brother, and then my youngest sister, they let her go crazy. Now she's getting married here in just actually just a couple weeks, and she ended up.
Yeah, I saw some of those engagement photos.
Yeah, and she's marrying a really good guy, and turned out okay. But they were not nearly as strict on her as they were me. Not even close.
Like it's the last one. Just get it out of the house.
Yeah, you've been here too long. Go.
We want to retire.
So, I mean, I assume if my parents didn't approve of anyone that I was ever interested in, of course, they didn't know about some of them because nothing ever came of it. I mean, just because I was interested in somebody doesn't mean it worked the other way.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing ever came of it. So, I mean, I'm not going to go to Dad like, hey, yeah, there's this cute girl at work. I think I'm going to talk to her. And like, hey, I got her phone number, but she never answered the phone. Mm-hmm. So, and then like her roommate, like, oh, this is a bad idea. Like, okay, well, I guess not then. But I didn't run stuff by him because, well, I was half a country away. Like,
yeah.
What is he gonna know about what's going on in Oklahoma while he's in Illinois? Mm-hmm. So I think for the most part, he kind of trusted me, I guess. He didn't call and ask, and I didn't call and tell. But I had my own thing in mind of what I wanted at that point. So I guess I had my own rules set.
Well, and I want to point out too, and again, we don't want to go down this rabbit hole too deep, but there were some pretty stringent rules put in place by the college there too. If they knew about it, put it that way.
Right, and that was the if that I was banking on. I didn't care about any of that, honestly.
Yeah.
You're more worried about finding somebody to play games of Magic with and how to smuggle your PS1 into campus.
Pretty much. I mean, as it goes to show, I got kicked out over chocolate milk. So, I guess that tells you what I thought about a lot of it.
Totally legit.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you guys know the story, I think, but that was pretty much it.
Hey, hon.
Kicked out because of chocolate milk.
Chocolate milk's the devil. We only drink 1 or 2% milk. Whole milk, that's the devil too. Skim milk, it's unholy in its purity.
Well,
nothing this delicious could be this fat-free. Expel this boy.
Well, hey guys, I need to get going. I don't know how long you normally go with your show, but I need to get going at this point.
On that note.
Yeah, on the note of chocolate milk, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
How did we get there?
Rabbit hole.
This is. Speaking of tacos, no. Anyway,
go have fun with your wife.
All right, so you guys.
Notice she's staying off camera on purpose.
Well, exactly. It's gonna pan to the left just accidentally.
Yeah, she came in here and got a drink and did not respond when I waved to her. Well, I said, "Hey, hun," and waved, and you just kept walking.
And then he started talking about tacos.
Evidently, she responded, but I didn't hear because I had my headset on.
Mm-hmm. So he's not in trouble, so he can stay. Is what he's saying.
Well, no, I'm still leaving.
Oh, no.
No, we haven't even gotten to the topic at hand. We just got seriously derailed for 45 minutes.
We have gotten derailed, but I need to get going. It's 10:15 here.
Yeah.
And I need to spend some time with my wife before she goes to bed, and I live stream.
your husbandly duties.
Yeah, let's go with that. If by that you mean watching movies, watching Netflix. Okay. All right. Yeah.
All right, we'll break down the story, just Dan and I then. Go have fun with your taco.
We'll see you guys.
I hope there's no extra sour cream.
Yep. We'll be. Bye. I'm just gonna go.
Oops. I don't want to move the background. I want to move my camera.
Oh, I can see so much more of my room now. My camera's not just this big. I got the whole thing.
Freedom!
Oh. Yeah, room looked better with the lights off. Well, whatever.
There we go.
I look better in the dark too.
I'm gonna have to buy you a webcam and ship it out so we can do a better home studio.
See, I'm sitting at my computer anyway. Because there we go.
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
And the TV's right there.
Uh-huh.
And the computer's right there.
Very nice.
And I get this side of the desk.
See, I used to do that. Well, I went to Menards and I built a 9-foot long desk that took up the entire length of one wall, and we did that. We had my desk on one side, her desk on the other, and then like the printer and filing cabinets in between.
Oh, you see, the 6-foot table fills up this wall.
Oh, okay.
So it's there's not a lot of space, so we're try to maximize what we do have.
Was that not in the? Oh wait, you didn't have the contract negotiations.
Right.
At 18, I need this much desk space in 20 years. So that was a very long way of getting to my favorite story of this past year. Verge reported on it back in December. Japanese dad totally owned his daughter's boyfriend at video games. So what happened was this guy, Bubba_Stone, started tweeting that he had met his daughter's boyfriend, and first tweet saying, "My daughter just introduced her boyfriend to us," and they were talking together, and he essentially finds out that the daughter's boyfriend's some punk kid. But he realizes they both love playing Guilty Gear. Are you familiar with Guilty Gear?
I am not.
Okay. Fighting game. One of those 2D animated, similar to like Darkstalkers or Street Fighter or BlazBlue. Essentially 2D, cell drawn, everything's drawn out, very pretty. But very flashy, combo heavy. This is a game that people spend years dedicating their lives to, memorizing movesets. It's a big deal.
Wow.
So the daughter's boyfriend proposes to take down his potential father-in-law. And I mean, how would you react to that? Your daughter brings home this guy. She's 16. He's like, "What's your favorite game, old man?"
Oh yeah, hey, bring it on. I got the SNES Classic right there. I still have the working N64 out there. We'll pull out some Mario Kart and I'll make him cry. If he's going to offer that as a thing, then we're gonna do it, and he's not gonna like the outcome.
And see, this is where I think the future might be headed, as esports are definitely taking off and becoming a thing where kids can get credits for playing high school esports, and nobody likes working out because it's awful, and our guns are being threatened by the government, and what the libtard media doesn't want you to know is that they're taking our guns, type of deal.
Yeah, and my body is beautiful no matter if I'm morbidly obese, and I should do something about it, and I'm at a health risk to myself. I'm beautiful anyway, and you can't tell me otherwise.
Yep, and more people are playing video games growing up, so it's not so uncommon anymore. You might run into that situation where it's like, you want to date my daughter? 1v1 me in Overwatch. Let's get this done. Or Fortnite, as the kids play nonstop nowadays.
Yeah.
So turns out that the kid is using a character called Slayer, and Buppa Stone doesn't really take kindly to that. He, and then quote here says, "Gamers like him who use the character Slayer are shitheads."
So he has a strong opinion about the character selection to begin with.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like us in Smite. I loathe anyone who picks Bacchus. That jump in stun is just, it's obnoxious and annoying, and Discordia is quickly rising in my ire.
Your hate list.
Oh yeah, she's awful.
Yeah, and this, which means that you got to learn how to play against it. But
in a joust match where she's got that much AOE, it's difficult.
Oh yeah, that's another topic. But yes.
So
those matches we played were quite interesting.
So Buppa Stone and said boyfriend begin duking it out. They go 1-on-1, mano in some Guilty Gear. And 2 hours later, Buppa Stone tweets out, 10-6, it's over. We're done here. And lots of exclamation points. Then after his crushing victory, the dad declared that the junior high school kid wasn't fit to be his daughter's boyfriend, saying, "I'm the worst in my family at Guilty Gear, and this wet behind the ears kid can't even beat me. He shouldn't be allowed in our house."
That's amazing.
Then so Verge goes on to say, by now it's dinner time. The rest of his family has grown fed up with Buppa Stone's antics and presumably all the bragging he did in real life over defeating a middle school kid. Less than 10 minutes later, he noticed that no one made him anything to eat. So he tweets out again, "I got kicked out of the house, so I'll go buy some cigarettes and rice balls."
You see, the first problem I see with that is his daughter had a boyfriend serious enough to come over to the house in middle school.
Mm.
I mean, that's your first mistake. I mean, where this starts to go off the rails. For me personally, I mean, maybe you're okay with that idea. I don't like the concept of that young. But the whole, trouncing a middle schooler in a fighting game, to me is pretty funny.
And see, that's where I've got to respectfully disagree. I'm okay with middle school romance because I had a few of my own, and they're nothing more. Like, you barely even hold hands. Too. There's no kissing, nothing. It's totally innocent. You're pretending at that point. So if she wants to have a middle school boyfriend, fine, whatever. Bring him over. I will thrash him in whatever game he thinks he's competent in. You want to play some Roblox? Fucking let's play some Roblox. I don't even know how the game works, and I will dominate your middle school ass.
Yeah. I mean, sure. I'll play. And he's gonna know that he's not gonna outsmart me. On that kind of thing. Yeah, I would love the idea of being able to pull out the chessboard and be like, okay, we're doing this. But hardly anybody knows how to play anymore, and every time I offer to people, they get scared. Like, oh, you're offering to play chess? You must be really good. Like, no.
No, because you're cheap and you do that one setup move over and over again. The 3 or 4 move victory. I remember that one.
Oh, yeah, there is that. But I mean, it's so easy to counter. For anyone who's played against that move set one time, like, oh, he's doing the thing, I'm going to move this one piece and completely negate that attempt, and now if you see somebody doing that against you, which you should see it coming, it's easy to counter, and now they've just wasted 3 moves, because there's not a great strategy to follow up from that being thwarted. But yeah. Anyway, that's a different thing. But the idea of yeah, I want to challenge any person interested in my daughter in any way that I can challenge them. Because I need to figure them out. Yeah, for me, the board games, chess, see what their strategy's like. Um, is, I have on my phone a while back. Amazon does this thing um, where you had like free games on it. They gave away Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh, nice.
On their Amazon Underground, whatever, absolutely free, whatever. So I got full version of Knights of the Old Republic on it. So I let my son play it.
Mm-hmm.
And like Fable, I let him play through that because I want to see how his character ends up.
Does he have the halo and the aura, or has he got the flies following him? This is the same kid who rolled Horde on you.
Yeah. I look at his Knights of the Republic character. I'm like, yeah, a lot of points in the dark side. And it's like, well, yeah, it was easier that way. Like, no!
It is totally a lot easier as dark side. I remember that because I did my first playthrough totally light side as I tried to, and then second playthrough I'm like, okay, well I made all the choices I thought were right. Let's go the opposite way. I'm like, oh my god, this game is so much easier.
And it just like I was like, why'd you choose that one? And he would have some gray area explanation kind of for it, like, all right, well, at least you're thinking. I mean, he was very ends justify the means. He's like,
well, I mean, how old is he?
10 now.
Okay, so I mean, it shows not necessarily cold, but calculated thinking.
Very much so. Yeah, so like, like there's a lot of ways you can use this in many different games just to see how they are. And like, yes, when they're being beat mercilessly and probably laughed at because you've played against me, you've been beat mercilessly by me in certain games, and vice versa. Give you credit too, but
I remember your Cervantes.
Oh, I mean, I don't do it in a mocking way, but I know that I laugh like an idiot.
Oh, trash talk comes with the territory. It's to be expected.
Yeah, but especially when we were playing Magic games, and I would just put a card down and laugh, like
fuck your squirrel and goblin decks.
It's just funny. Like this. The whole concept of it, especially with the squirrel and goblin, was just hilarious to me. As you have this roided up squirrel just trouncing through these ogres and everything else that were on the field, like it was just the funniest concept to me. Or they get so happy because they play their one card and like, oh, counterspell. No. Exactly. My most favorite victory ever in Magic was against Ricky.
I remember that top waffle.
He plays a Sarah avatar. Power is equal to your life. I look in my hand and I have an agonizing demise. Whatever its power is, deal that much damage to its owner with the kicker cost. And my very next turn, I played that on his Sarah avatar. I'm like, you're dead. He left the room. And left the room, and I'm just sitting on the floor laughing like an idiot because it was the greatest thing to me.
Well, how could you not?
Exactly. He's like, oh, like I thought he had the game in the bag. He's got this super rare card. He's getting out so early in the game, and I beat him with a common.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the beauty of a game like that. If you know how to do it, you can do it. It doesn't matter what they have.
I know. Like, I guess that's it. And in some of the fighting ones, just or like another friend of ours who liked to play Keelik all the time.
Yeah.
Every single time, and that stupid bow staff, and it was so satisfying to crush him.
Mm-hmm.
See, when we were in middle school, we went out on this that ski camp that they would do. I think that's what it was. It was one of them things where we were staying overnight, and it was a church, school, whatever function, but they let us bring along a Super Nintendo, and we loaded up Mario Kart, and we're playing Mario Kart battle mode over and over and over again. And it was whoever won the match got to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever lost, you give up the controller.
Well, it's like lining up quarters on the arcade machine. Winner stays, and then you're queued up in line.
Pretty much. And this one guy in particular, you might remember Brett.
Like, yeah.
He was the god of Mario Kart at the time, because he went over 100 in a row victory against all of us.
Wow.
Like, it was nuts. Like, it just became the thing of just, I wanted to beat him.
Well, it's like we get that in Smite matches now. It's like, we don't care if we win. If we beat that one guy, we win the game.
So, which in our last stream, that's what won us that game. Like, okay, I want to kill Huyi so bad. And as soon as we killed Huyi, like, oh, wait, their team just fell apart. We can win this, and we did.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was all they had. But yeah, so to see how somebody reacts when they're being beat. Like, are they going to throw the cards down and leave the room? Are they going to throw the controller? There was another family that I played a lot of video games with that you're also familiar with. There was a lot of boys in this family.
Oh, did they sell one of my video games for drug money?
I haven't heard that story.
Did they date my sister in secret? Did they show up drunk to her wedding? No.
Not the one I'm referring to for this part.
But same family, right?
No. The other family that was all boys.
Oh. Okay.
They were actually at your sister's wedding.
Yeah.
Ironic enough, but they were supposed to be there.
Yeah.
One of them, the third son, and that had that kind of temper, and I very vividly remember him throwing a controller and stomping on the Nintendo and walking out the door.
He was a big kid too.
Point. And then there was another one of them. They were all into that military thing for a while.
Yeah.
There was another mutual friend of ours. His name was Robert. He was a larger kid.
Still is.
I haven't seen him in a long time.
He just got off the stream.
Huh?
He just got off the stream.
Oh, really?
Large kid, red hair.
Oh, I don't know if he has red hair. He didn't when I knew him.
I was talking about Bob, but go on.
Oh, no. This was before I knew that Bob. This was a different Bob. Like, last time I saw this guy, he was like 8 foot tall. Anyway, very rotund kid for 5th, 6th grade, and this group of kids, they're heavy into this military stuff, as you know. They had made a sawed-off BB gun. They took their BB gun rifle and cut the barrel down.
Would that even work?
It's still fired. I mean, your BB guns were only so accurate anyway. but now it was just smaller, and I think they thought it was cool.
Okay.
But one of those where you can sit there and just like keep pumping air into it. Like they were playing something. Like the two of them, the oldest one and this Robert kid, and I'm just sitting back like pumping the gun, just messing around. And it was one of those things. One kid gets beat, the verbal war starts. I'm just sitting back as I do with a lot of just enjoying the show. And next thing I know, he grabs the BB gun out of my hands, points it right into Chubby Kid's stomach, and pulls the trigger. It went through his shirt and broke skin, and the BB was stuck inside his stomach. It made a hole. So then we had to spend the next 30 minutes, fifth grade doctors.
You're playing like a really fucked up game of Operation.
It is exactly what happened. Like, I'm taking off my belt, like, here, shove it in his mouth. And we got needles or whatever, and it had to hurt so bad.
Well, yeah, you got a bunch of fifth graders poking needles in your gut.
we got the BB out, and then like he grabs a bottle of peroxide, puts it on his stomach, and he just sits there with it. And patched it up, and it's kind of at that point like, these guys don't handle pressure well. Like, you need to be able to handle defeat a little bit better than that.
Well, we had that with former brother-in-law. Like, I firmly believe that if you want to know the true character of a person, you need to be in hour 4 of Monopoly, where it's 3 a.m. and everyone is just boiled down to their base elements. And you throw one shitty deal at them, and they fucking bite. That's when you see a true character.
Yeah. It's like when they're just utterly broken. Like, here. Like, you landed on Boardwalk. Are you going to sell all your houses and mortgage all your properties? Or are you just going to flip the board over and walk away? Which is it?
And that was the thing. Every time he would get knocked out of the game, he would just lose it immediately. And there were a couple moments where, yeah, the board would get flipped, and that would be the end of the game. And then other times he would just go off and rage. And for whatever reason, we kept wanting to play this game with him, and it became a thing of, let's break him. Like, we're getting together Friday. We're going to break Ryan. Who's in?
And see, it's the thing. It's a fantastic test to see, is this person fit for a relationship? To be able to put them through that, because as you know, you've been in some relationships. Sometimes it feels like you're losing, and you have to be able to handle that without snapping.
Right. And exactly that, and that's why, yeah, these video game battle of wits probably be better than, well, what's your 401k at? Do you have a future plan lined up at 18 to take care of my daughter?
Yeah, I mean, to me, the money you have in the bank is not really indicative of can you take care of a person. There's some people that I know. I don't want to say anybody, but whatever.
You can say it. I made it to 33 living on ramen. I can survive.
No, not you. They're the kind of people that they'll have a significant sum of money in the bank, and like, oh, we're broke. We can't help out with this family ordeal right now because we're broke. And it's like, you just talked about all of these other things that you do have, and I mean, good on them, I guess, for sticking to a budget, whatever. Like, but when some things that are more important than your family vacation come up, and you say that you can't contribute, that doesn't show the right kind of character to me.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, when I think of someone taking care of my daughter, like, are they going to be willing to do whatever it takes to take care of her? And granted, she needs to reciprocate, and that's me needing to train her to do so. But I mean, I put a lot of burden on her spouse. Like, okay, when it comes down to it, are you going to figure it out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that's not a great job. Like, no one wants to be a Walmart greeter at 20.
And that's the thing, it's your late teens, early 20s. It's all about figuring out who you are and how you're going to get to where you want in life, on top of figuring out where you do want to get to in life.
Yeah, I mean, I've taken a lot of less than stellar jobs, let's say. Like, some of them have been really crappy. Mm-hmm. Warehouse work, production line work, where I'm literally standing in front of this machine that's filling ice cream cones, and my only job for an 8-hour shift is to take a stack of ice cream cones, load them into the machine, watch them tick down, like 2 per second, as they go through the machine and get filled and packaged. And I turn around and I grab another stack of ice cream cones and load them into the machine.
Yeah.
And you stay on that platform for 8 hours, and you load your stupid ice cream cones in the stupid machine until it's done. And you carry your buckets of peanut butter and you dump them in. And all of that horrible general labor work. It started, digging ditches with my dad. Like, oh, I'm going to go do electrical work today. Nope. You're going to operate a shovel. Like, that's what you're going to do. Like, and we'd show up to work for him, and like, yeah, I need a hole from there to there, and it's got to be 24 inches deep.
Yeah.
Let me know when you're done. And my dad taught us when he for work, and he was very clear about it. Like, okay, when your job is done, it's not time for you to go screw around. Like, you come back to me, and I'll give you the next thing to do.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of that, now in a career type position where I have a salary job. I have a very nice job right now. It's going very well. I don't have to touch ice cream cones anymore unless I'm eating them. And I'm trying not to, because I have a desk job.
Oh yeah, your ass is going to grow exponentially.
Well, I've had a desk job now for 5 years, and I've made significant progress in this company in this last 5 years. But anyway, it didn't come cheap, and it didn't come free. But training some of these other people now that are coming in under me, and you give them their one thing to do, and then you have to go find them. Like, what are you doing over here? Like, oh, well, I did the thing you told me. Like,
mm-hmm.
Like, you know where my desk is. Like, if you need your next thing to do, like, here's the list. Well, I didn't know how to do that.
Yeah, it's showing.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, that you can process basic thought and follow through, or at least be able to figure things out. Have initiative. That's what I'm looking for there.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I want you to have initiative. I want you to be creative. Like, when you don't know how it's going to work out, that you you know how to take care of a situation, and even if you don't know how to take care of it going into it, you're going to figure it out on the way through.
Mm-hmm.
Like when the chips are down, you're not going to give up. And in some ways, that's a great way to test that. Now, in the case of your news story, I don't think he was trying to test that.
No.
I think he was just trying to beat and brag on a middle schooler. I mean, he probably went too far. I think the story is hilarious. But yeah, it's
And that's the thing, middle school essentially doesn't count. Those are good practice runs. That's all that is. Those are really good practice runs. But when it comes time to, oh yeah, she's in high school and wants to bring a boy over, guilty gear's not going to cut it at that point. That's when you need to bring it into like a long, drawn-out engagement. Chess works great. I would also suggest Risk. You're going to be over here for a couple hours every night for a few weeks while we get this settled out, and I'm going to find out, what kind of person are you? Are you the kind of bitch who hunkers down in Australia and makes me come to you? Or are you getting a little ambitious and start trying to take it over Western Europe like the Germans?
I mean, there's some great things you can learn from people just sitting and playing strategy stuff with them, and how they can overcome that. And I like to think of myself as a great obstacle in that area. I'm not the greatest player, but I'm not the worst either.
Your league's ahead of me just because I can't stand strategy games. It's amazing I made it as far into Magic as I did. And that has me thinking, what if that person isn't the type of person who has strategic thinking or processes like that, where it's like trying to judge a fish based on his ability to climb a tree.
Well, then you see how they handle failure.
True. It's a judgment of character then versus intelligence.
Right, which honestly is, I care more about your character than I care about your intellect. Like, most cases, I can fix intellect. I can teach you. I can train. I can help you understand and help you learn this thing if you have the character to have initiative.
Boy.
Exactly.
She'll teach you how to eat ass, and you'll teach him how to keep her alive. So, yeah, I mean, I think we got a lot more out of this story than we initially anticipated.
Probably.
I mean, we got 45 minutes of content before we even got to it.
This is like a triple show at this point.
Well, it makes up for me not broadcasting last week.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, honestly, one of the biggest reasons I invited you guys is like, I don't want to do the heavy lifting of carrying a show by myself. I know when I bring you on, you guys on, I could just kind of chill out and watch things in the background and let you guys just carry on. It makes things so much easier on me.
See, it could have been a Sea of Thieves night. You missed your chance.
It still could. I have to stream 0 Lives after this because I missed that yesterday. Or I'm sorry, I missed that Sunday. I was going to do more Hellblade because I'm trying to get back to the single player roots of that because multiplayer isn't interesting because I'm not good at it. But Sea of Thieves would work.
Is that a PS4 title?
They just recently moved it over to Xbox. It's $30 and it's worth every penny. Might be PC too, I don't know. But I first heard of it on PS4.
I was been debating the Destiny 2 expansion packs.
With that, I was thinking, now that Bob's not listening, we can get in close here and whisper real quiet. I was thinking, what if we do a new stream on Tuesdays, where we call it the weekly reset, And every Tuesday when the Destiny content resets, we go in and clear it out on a stream.
So I would have to get the expansions for that.
But the new expansion comes out on next Tuesday, and you could just get it for $34. And I could cover the cost of Bob because he owes me multiple favors.
Wait, I don't understand. He owes you?
I like to keep a man down.
See, he doesn't even have the base game.
No, because I stopped the game sharing.
Right.
So yeah,
And
so
I
I
would
would
set that back up with him.
no, because I'm weird. I don't like sharing. I know it's totally fine. It's kosher. I trust him. It's my own personal hang-ups. So if I get the base game, like
access to the overthrown, but
the what?
Your voodoo.
Oh yeah, no, that I got over that.
Okay, I mean, I did watch Warcraft, and
It was as bad as I said.
I expected a better story out of it. I mean, to me, that was the wrong story to tell. It's like, okay, like this would have been a great intro.
Well, I think
you
what they
would've
were anticipating on
kept
doing was
step.
like a trilogy of movies. Like, oh, we got to set up the story, and eventually we'll get to Arthas, but we got to get through this stuff first.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely could have just jumped straight to Arthas and just had this as a prequel after you got me to care about how the characters got there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But, like, Medivh being a junkie and the rest of it, you know, Gul'dan kind of being a... See, Medivh was addicted to cocaine. You have Gul'dan addicted to crack.
Yeah, the Fel isn't even demon-based anymore. It's just this different magic source.
Yeah, like that was all kind of weird, and like, he's gone green, like, okay, and
Yeah, it doesn't make sense if they did get their movie franchise, like I assume they were hoping to get. Like, how do you bring the Legion into anything then? Because that's arguably the biggest enemy in Warcraft lore.
it's like the only enemy is the way they're painting it.
I don't know, because the Void are pulling strings, but yeah, your point stands.
Yeah, and the way I mean, to me, from how I understood the lore before to where it's at now, they've pretty much retconned the old orc story.
Yeah, with Warlords they did that.
Yeah, like, and which really threw me off because I did not follow the Warlord story at all. Like, wait.
It was
Why
confusing
are we-
because unless you read War Crimes, you get thrown completely out of the loop.
It's like, how did we time travel to a parallel dimension, but we didn't, but we did? And, like, okay, now not all the orcs drank the demon blood, or whatever the heck it was. They're not all crazy. Here's the Frost Wolves, and here's Durotan, you know, as he shows up in the movie. And, like, this is not what I expected. And, I mean, King Lane's assassination, which maybe that's the way it just seemed kind of weak with Garona.
Well, he did get assassinated by Garona, but I think in the original it was more of a mind control thing.
This is like, you have to kill me so that they'll accept you again. And she's like, I don't want to do it. And stab, you know, like, spoiler alert.
Yeah, for a movie nobody cares about.
Too late. But, I mean, it was one of those things, as long as I shut my brain off and didn't care about, and I have to forget what I already know.
Yeah.
And just enjoy the story. Like,
Well,
I like a good story no matter what.
And supposedly we're getting more of that with the Chronicle books that we're on Volume 3 now, that Blizzard's releasing, that tell the history of the Warcraft universe. They're retconning a ton of stuff, and I mean, it's fine, it's their story to do whatever, but I don't trust Christy Golden with it particularly. I've tried reading a couple of her novels, and they're not good.
See, you're
somebody
a
who-
much bigger reader than I am. I've read very few authors.
You build
like Frank
amazing
Peretti's
squirrel
writing.
decks. I read.
Yeah, like, and that's where we're different. Like, I really like Frank Peretti's writing. I don't know if you've ever read any of his stuff. He's more on the religious side, but it's all like sci-fi, fantasy. genre with a religious spin on it, and I really like R.A. Salvatore, completely on the other side of the spectrum.
Right.
I've read some of Greenwood stuff because I think I read most of the Elminster series. Because I like Forgotten Realms stuff. And Tolkien, of course.
And see, that's the thing. Like all that classic fantasy, it's a very dry read to me. It's like reading the Bible. It's not a good time for me. But you know what? Not everybody can enjoy everything, and that's totally fine. Just like it's totally fine for me to be a fat piece of shit and do nothing about it.
and yeah, I mean that's where it's at.
We digress. So again, might get Bob Destiny and the expansions, so we could do a Tuesday stream.
Tuesday.
And we'll call it the weekly reset, and we just do kind of like Friday Night Smite, but with Destiny, until we get sick of it again and stop playing.
I've been kind of wanting to get into it. I've been really enjoying. I've been really enjoying Sea of Thieves, especially playing with the people in the same room and having 3 of us on a galleon together. And doing stuff, and we see some other ship coming in, and we all reach over and we shut off our mics if in game, and take one ear off so we can talk to each other instead that way, and go be pirates and whatnot, or go take down a skeleton fort on a Sunday afternoon, which is what we did.
Mm-hmm. And that's like the kind of experience, like, I'm jealous that you have a family that you can play a game like that with. Like, Sea of Thieves is fun, but at best we get 3 of us together, or Tom, and it's, I don't know, I don't get that same sort of cohesion that we get in like Smite.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it is, especially between now more so with you and Bob, you haven't had a lot of exposure to the game to progress in your skill at it. Not that that there's a lot to it, but
hey, I can sail a sloop.
Right.
Don't be knocking my sloop sailing skills.
The sailing is one thing. The PvP combat's another.
Oh yeah, no, we haven't really run into any other people. The last time I played, we sunk that one guy's sloop, which was amazing.
Had a chance.
I got like 5 levels off his chest.
And I mentioned to my son what we did. Like, yeah, we didn't even grab a quest. We just went out and looked for somebody to sink. We blew his stuff up and took everything and sold it.
And your 10-year-old pulls up though, he's like, good.
like his eyes just light up, and like in all ways he's like, can we go attack that guy? Can I shoot him? Can I shoot him in the face? Like, calm down.
You need to go Obi-Wan on this boy. Are you gonna get a Luke Skywalker, or are you gonna get an Anakin Skywalker?
Yes. I mean, did Luke really turn out that great in the end? I don't know.
I thought he ended up okay. I don't like the direction they took him in Last Jedi, but it's better than killing a temple full of younglings.
I mean, okay. He quit for 20 years. Whatever the heck it was. He quit.
And that's why I don't acknowledge the movies as canon. See, I read the books in that gap where we didn't have new movies, where Luke had a family and a child, and when he did get beaten down by an apprentice, he was rallied behind by friends and family, and he stood strong. And I don't think movie Luke had that, because instead of going directly into a peacetime, they immediately like, oh, we need to have the rebels against the Empire. Let's do that same old tired plot. Had he had that support, I think he would have rallied up, and we would have had a much better Luke. Even Hamill himself says this was a terrible direction.
Yeah, I mean, he said he didn't care for what Abrams did, right? It was Abrams that did this one?
It was Rian Johnson.
Johnson. Abrams did the first one.
Right.
Number 7. And yeah, like I didn't see Luke being the guy to like, you know what? I had this one failure. This one thing went badly, and then as we're piecing Kylo Ren's backstory together through backflashes, like, we know you're gonna make a prequel. Like, just save the backflashes for the prequel.
Well, see, I liked it because we never got flashbacks in any other Star Wars movie, and that's why I love The Last Jedi so much, is that it turned so many of those Star Wars tropes, so many of those expected things completely on their head, and it was all about burning down the past to make room for the future. And that's what's always drove me nuts about Star Wars, especially Episode 7, where it seemed to be a love song to Episode 4. It's like, let's get rid of this, let's chart a new path, let's stop holding on to what's holding us back.
Yeah, see, they're honestly, the new movies are retconning what the Force is.
I think it plays more true to what the Force is instead of fucking midichlorians.
Okay, I'm not talking about how you see it in movies 1, 2, and 3. Speaking of episodes 4, 5, and 6, I mean, they paint it as, and I know fan theory does not agree with this, but you know, they paint the Force as it's light or dark. And
it's not.
Well, like I said, fan theory does not agree with what you see in episodes 4, 5, and 6 of that. And like, here we have Rey dabbling with the dark side, and whatever the heck that was in the cave under the island, like,
it was just a hall of mirrors. Who knows? But
yeah. This doesn't make any sense. And all of these new Force techniques, if you will, that are just kind of being forced upon her and Kylo. Like, now all of a sudden you're like, this has never happened before. Like, Kylo is not inexperienced, but she is completely inexperienced.
Oh, she's totally a Mary Jane or Mary Sue.
And having all of these fantastic things happen to her, like I could kind of forgive you for souping up Kylo Ren like you did, like being able to stop a blaster shot in midair. Like, I thought that was kind of an overreach of the power.
No. And see, that's where having read all the books kind of comes in play, because the movies are finally touching on something that people who read the Expanded Universe have known about for the better part of 10 years, of the concept of a gray Jedi, somebody who doesn't believe in the light or dark side, just in the Force. The Force is what you make of it. As Tetra points out in the chat, does the Force have an agenda or evolutionary goal? It's just a tool, essentially. And it exists as kind of a spectrum. We saw this when the Yuuzhan Vong invaded the universe. We had a species of aliens invade from outside the galaxy who were, quote-unquote, immune to the Force. And it's kind of like looking at our vision. We can't see infrared or ultraviolet, and that's kind of where those aliens existed. It became a matter of having a Force-sensitive teach, in this case it was Han and Leia's firstborn, Jason, how to perceive outside his spectrum of the Force so he could then see these aliens in it. And at that point, he stopped seeing it light side, dark side. He saw it as a tool to accomplish what he needed. And then that's where the rest of his family saw him as like falling to the dark side, because they didn't necessarily believe what he was doing, and they still saw it in that monochromatic fashion.
Yeah, so I think what the Force is needs to be fleshed out better in the movies. I mean, because not everybody's going to read the books. I understand you're going to get the full picture if you do. I'm not going to, probably, anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, just seeing how they tell the story on screen, like they're changing the world that had already been created very dynamically. And just so everyone loses their minds on this conversation, I didn't think Jar Jar Binks was bad.
Get the fuck out of here. You take that back, or so help me, I am ending this stream right fucking now.
What was so bad about him?
He was the epitome of a racist stereotype that did nothing to progress plot or provide anything of substance. I get it, the movies are geared towards children, but he was just an offense on every level.
But all of the Gungans talked the way he did. He was just the stupid one.
And if you look at the fuck's his name from that 70s show, if you look at his supercut of the prequels, you can take all that stuff out and it does not impact story whatsoever. It improves quality of the movies.
But you lose comic relief.
Do you need it when the main theme of the movie is laser swords and blaster pistols in a political intrigue and war movie?
Well, what'd you think about Rogue One?
Rogue One was garbage from start to finish just because it had terrible writing and no real sense of direction. It was a needless movie. I didn't need episode 3.5. That plays into my just general hate for how Star Wars is moving, because they feel like we can't tell new stories. We have to constantly rehash the old stuff, otherwise people won't come.
Yeah, because we want to fit this in, like, okay, how did Leia get it? I mean, but there was no comic relief in that whatsoever. It was just more of kind of an
no.
story.
K9-2SO was definitely comic relief, and he was the highlight of the movie.
I will give you that. I mean, but he didn't fit into what a droid was in any other movie where there was a droid. He did not. He broke all the rules. He did not fit into the right mold. Like, no, you have your own personality. Like, no,
all droids. No. All droids have personalities in the Star Wars universe. They don't come out with pre-programmed stuff. They all have individual quirks.
But not that sarcastic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was worse than Han Solo.
Look at R2-D2. Look at C-3PO, BB-8. Look at the evil little BB-8 that you had in The Last Jedi that you saw for a whole 5 minutes. He didn't talk, but you knew exactly how much sass that little black ball had.
Well, so I guess that's my other beef with K whatever 2SO.
Alan Tudyk.
That this was supposed to be in the past, and I understand it's the Star Wars universe. We haven't explored all of it, blah, blah, blah. He looked like a crappier droid, sure, like an earlier model of a droid, but in some ways he was way too advanced for the technology. I mean, we fast forward and the technology gets better by having a BB-8 droid, like, but now it has the hovering hockey puck on a ball.
That's where Star Wars... You have the same technology in the Old Republic, which takes place thousands of years before the current trilogy. Star Wars exists in its own stagnated little pool. Kind of like typical high fantasy. It's always going to be medieval. Like, look at Lord of the Rings. Not much changed from when the Valyar first created Middle-earth to where we start seeing Aragorn and his buddies pal around.
It's true. I'll give you that.
They can't progress time because it always has to feel comfortable for the audience to come back. It's more creating a theme than something logical.
Okay.
And you have to look at like K9-2SO, whatever the fuck his name is. He's an Imperial droid. So he can look kind of stark, but still be really advanced. He's designed by the people with the best technology. The best VCR control panels on the Death Star.
Speaking of awesome droids, have you seen Lost in Space yet?
No, I've been meaning to.
It's worthwhile.
That's what I hear.
I just finished season 1 today, and I enjoyed it, and it's kind of like, well, crap, when's the next season coming out?
Does Matt LeBlanc make a cameo at any point?
Don't know.
Joey from Friends?
Don't think so.
Come on, Mezzy. How you doing?
I didn't watch a lot of Friends. I know who you're talking about now.
It was a terrible joke that failed because he was in the Lost in Space movie several years back. That was just a total turd.
Oh, I didn't even know there was a movie.
Don't waste your time. It's on Netflix, I think. But yeah,
Oh.
it's a fucking train wreck. Because it's your typical big budget Hollywood sci-fi schlock from the 90s.
I'm coming to the series having not seen anything previous.
And that might be the best way to do it because what was the original TV show, 50s, 60s? Just awful.
Yeah.
Like, you got a pedophile running around with a little boy for most of it.
Yeah, same with Doctor Who. Like I have not seen the old stuff. I've only seen the new stuff, and I think it's great. And I hear, people. Well, I kind of had the same problem with Destiny 2. I never played Destiny 1. I didn't have an opinion coming into the game of what I was expecting, and then I hear people complaining about, like, oh, there's not this or that or this. Like, there was supposed to be?
Yeah. Maybe that's what we should do instead of jumping back into Destiny 2. Pick up the Taken King collection, which has everything, for $40 and play through that as a trio.
That could be interesting. Yeah, because I see it all the time. I don't know if the expansion packs are with it, but you see it all the time.
Yeah,
on
no,
the,
everything's included.
on the shelves at like GameStop, whatever. It's like super cheap. I don't know if the one you're going to get from GameStop has the code still active or whatever. It's like the original base game of Destiny was sitting on the shelf for like $2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you'd still have to.
Can we get this? Like, no.
Because there's 3 expansions you'd have to buy.
Right. And so I'm like, we'll see if we can find it with everything. And I look on the Microsoft store, and they're still like wanting full price before. Like, I'm not doing that either.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, that one's good. I mean, we wouldn't be able to do the raids, and Iron Banner's gone, and Trials of Osiris aren't in place. However, we can still do all the strike contents, progress through all the story. It's a good experience. It's fun.
Yeah, you should see. I also have Final Fantasy 15 to play through.
Oh, you got the buddy guy road trip bromance?
I've only barely started the game. It was on a heavy discount a while back.
And I'm already in love with their beautiful hair.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm grabbing. It was like down to $30. Like, I'm grabbing that. What else did I grab? Oh, and I still have all of Shadow of War to play through. Which
are you waiting for them to finally cut out the microtransactions before you get back into it?
See, I didn't. I mean, you didn't have to buy the stuff, so I didn't care. Like, I don't know why the microtransactions matter, honestly.
Because they're killing the game industry. What the libtard media doesn't want you to know.
Like, you can play it without buying the dudes. You can earn all the same stuff you buy in the store. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
It didn't hurt my feelings that it was there. Like, oh, like, you want to make sure you get a purple quality lieutenant to put on your map, like, or do you just want to? Here's the one that you can, mind control in the game, and level them up on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, like, you can get the same thing, like, or you're just paying to skip playing, like, which doesn't make sense to me. Like,
yeah,
to me it was like the scheme of when we were going to play Eve, and somebody had,
scheme.
Okay, he had worked out a way to mine enough resources that we could sell to be able to buy a Plex, the monthly game time for the account, but it was going to take like half of our available playtime was going to have to be dedicated to farming resources.
And that's the thing of how much is your personal time worth?
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and farm to be able to play the game. Like,
Right.
if I'm going to play the game, I'm going to pay the money, and I'm going to play the game to do what I want to do. If I'm farming, it's because I want to build something.
We're at that point in life where we have more money than free time.
Yeah, basically. I don't have a lot of either, so I want to maximize it. Hey, if I want to pay $2 to buy a lieutenant in this game because I want to progress content, and like, oh crap, the one that I had been using for all my battles died on accident because I made a stupid mistake, and it saves as you go, no reloading an old save. After this, that happened to me, like, this dude dies, like, oh crap, like, I had him set as my bodyguard, so he would show up to all these fights and would just murder people for me. It was fantastic.
Until somebody murdered him.
Like, yeah, like, I didn't see what was going on, and he dies in the middle of this fight off of some gimmick kind of thing. Like, oh crap, I just lost this awesome dude. Like, yeah, I'm not going to pay to get another one. Like you earn some currency in the game, and you can buy some of these things with, the in-game currency. Same with, like, Destiny 2. Like, it gives you so many silver credits, whatever, every so often, and every now and then you can buy a thing to give you the taste for spending money in the store. But, great, I'll take the free items. I'm still not going to put money into this unless I really want to. And Smite's the same way. Like, here's, to an extent, now they on purpose put stuff behind paywalls because they're a free-to-play game.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was going to argue, well, Smite's purely a cosmetic thing where you don't have to buy any new stuff. But you have the God Pack, and then the adventures heavily favor you and give you all kinds of incentive if you buy the adventure for $10, $15 a pop. And there's a new adventure, like, every 3 weeks.
And so their adventure stuff is really kind of pay to win.
Exactly.
But it's not PvP. So they're kind of forgiven for it, and they're free to play to begin with.
Except in this latest one where you have the arena, where it is totally PvP, and the only rewards you get out of it are these shitty death stamps that the community, at least on Reddit, is in an uproar about.
Like, this is garbage. And it's like, okay, yeah, it'd be cool to earn this very unique skin to do this thing, like, but I'm not throwing down $15 for that skin. But on occasion, like, oh, hey, I want retarded Guan Unicorn. I want my DJ Elephant. So yes, I will do that because you don't give me an option to earn it another way.
Yeah, and that's what disgusts me is how much they can get away with. Again, Tetra is pointing out where in Metal Gear Survive, Konami only gives you one save slot. You have to pay $10 for a second save file.
Oh, that's dirty.
It is. And it's somebody like me who likes playing alternate characters. Would I pay that if the game's good enough? I might, just because they have my balls in a vice. I think of, the one Aphrodite skin. I was willing, like, after months of deliberation, I'm like, you know what? I'll plop down $25 for a fucking skin. Those things used to be like $1 or $1.99 on, Xbox 360. Now they know they can charge upwards of $25.
Yeah, because you'll pay it, and they're gonna say, and you go through and you're looking through the different gods, and you see, like, this will never be available again.
Exactly.
You missed your chance, you stupid loser. Like, and they can say that, and you feel bad that you missed it.
I downloaded it on PC and it was still available. Like, why do you taunt me?
To some extent, I don't care about these microtransactions in games or whatever. Like, okay, you want to buy stuff to speed your progression along and whatever. It's a PvE game.
Mm-hmm. Well,
like, why are you if you want to skip content, fine.
The difference for me comes in the form of gambling. Microtransactions, if you are getting a 1-for-1 value, like I'm paying money for X item, fine, that works for me. But it comes when you start getting into these loot boxes where I'm paying for a chance to get this thing. And this is where Smite is like the biggest offender. Is like, oh yeah, you could get this skin, but there's only 6 skins in here that are really worth anything. And there's upwards, sometimes those chests have 110 items, which are voice lines, emotes, ward skins. Just absolute garbage, and you have to pay money for things you didn't want. It's just a slot machine.
Yeah, and Overwatch is the same thing. And like, if they could do it to where, okay, you cannot get duplicate items, fine. Like, it's a little bit better. But now that, oh, here's a duplicate item, we'll give you some gold instead. Like,
and it's not even worth like a third of what the skin costs.
Right, like, okay, no, if you're going to give me gold, make it be worth what the skin costs then. Fine. That'll take your in-game currency. Now, with the difference on Shadow of War, like, you knew like, it was going to be this quality of mercenary that you were going to get. Like you are going to get a gold one. You are going to get a purple one. Like, it's going to be this level. Like, its exact stats and its unique abilities is going to be randomly generated, like everything else in the game always is.
Yeah.
Because then it would just be too overpowered. You could make it ridiculous. Like, he's only immune to this thing I never see in the game, or whatever, or weak to something that doesn't exist. Yeah, but you knew what quality it was going to be, so, I mean, to me, I'm fine with that. It didn't bother me that they did that, but
But I digress.
Yeah. All right, I need to take a break for a few minutes. I don't know if you have a segue. I can come back in a few minutes.
Well, what we can do, because I'm schwitzing like a poodle in a parka, all this damn humidity. I still need to record 0 lives, so I can kill the stream for a minute, and then set up OBS for that. And I guess if you want a 2-man sloop, some Sea of Thieves, we can do that.
Yeah, I'll run a thing with you for a little bit. I'll stay up late tonight.
Yeah, it'll probably only be like 45 minutes or an hour because I got work in the morning too. So
yeah, that's fine.
All right, well,
I'll see you soon.
Yep. While he disappears, while he goes away and hides from us, we are going to say thank you for watching. Anybody currently in the chat, looking at you, Tetra, if you want to stick around, we are going to be doing game stream 0 live. Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves is the big important one. It depends on what our mood is. We might ransack stuff. We might try to level up. I've not played in weeks. But, yeah, that's what we're going to do because I have a makeup episode to get done to that. And so, yeah, just stick around. Otherwise, this will go up in an audio form. 2 hours seems excessive, but fuck it. You can get the show anywhere you get podcasts, iTunes, Google Play. Just search The Unwashed Asses. And, of course, if you want to write the show, theunwashedasses@gmail.com. Drop us a line, and we'll read your questions if we get any in. I like to promote a two-way conversation. It's sometimes a slow two-way conversation, but it's still a two-way conversation. And no worries. We'll be fine with OBS. But we're taking a break and be right back.